No, I was born and raised in the Catholic Church. Church every Sunday, church every Friday mornings, and actually married in the church first time.
I married when I was 20, and he was actually a convert, but he never got a testimony of the church, so we were never active together. When I got divorced, I had 2 young girls, and then I met Pat. He wasn't a member, but I could tell that he was a pretty good guy. And he did have a foundation, of faith. He believed in Jesus and God, but he had no interest in my church at all.
I used to, was so opposed, she tried the missionary lessons a couple times, and, I was more convinced to tell them the church was wrong, and I fought the whole way, and, then I used to bring stuff home that was anti, to prove a point, and.
For a little while, we kind of were both pretty headstrong about what we wanted. And so we kind of went on that path for a while where I wanted to go to my church and he wanted to go to his church, but we wanted to go to church together. So we took our kids to my church and then to his church.
For 3 hours in my church for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday. I actually went and talked to my bishop, and I wasn't super active, and we were just going, for a little while. And I went to talk to my bishop, and I told him what the circumstances were, and he told me that I needed to do what was right for my family. And I'm so grateful that he said that, because I don't know how many bishops, nothing against bishops, but I don't know how many bishops would have given me that counsel. And so I decided that to do what was right, that we needed to go to one church, and that I needed to make sure that my kids had a strong foundation of faith, and that was my responsibility to do. And we were not going to do it going to 2 churches and not learning anything anywhere. So that's what we did. We started going to Pat's church.
Something we don't really like to talk about, but I just think that our marriage at the time wasn't like, we weren't ready to break up, but it was strained.
Also, for several years before that, we got to where we weren't going to church at all.
At all.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so that was another reason we just had that big divide in our life, because there was no anything spiritual in our life. It was sports, and, we were way off track. And we were both feeling it major, And I actually would pray every day that I just wanted Pat to be the spiritual leader in our family. I was just praying that he would become the spiritual leader in our family again. And I never prayed for him to join my church or to gain a testimony. I just wanted that in our family and in our life. The Spirit was just like, okay, I'm just gonna be there as soon as he's ready. And I just feel like the second he was ready, the Spirit just swooped in on him.
Remember, I still have the mindset that I will have nothing to do with the church. And I just remember driving to Laughlin to work, and it was like a beautiful day. The rain just broke up. It was just the clouds, the sun, and I just had a thought: why haven't I ever just given my wife's church a chance? And the Holy Spirit was so strong. I knew the church was true. I wasn't going to quit drinking coffee. I wasn't gonna, Joseph Smith wasn't a prophet, but I knew the church was true. So I got home, or back to the hotel that night after working, and I called her. And I told her I wanted to know more about it, and when I was taking the missionary lessons, her brothers were all there, and all their spouses. And it was just, you could just feel the Spirit when you walked in there. I knew right away I wanted to be baptized. I knew the church was true. There was no doubt in my mind, and still isn't today.
They just loved Pat from the beginning. As soon as we, got together, they loved his kids, and they were just great examples, and just never pushed the church on him or their beliefs, and just,
Their way of converting me was just to love me unconditionally, no matter what, and just take me for the way I was. Mm-hmm. And that was a big factor in my conversion, I think.
As the lessons progressed, of course, everything changed for him. And as soon as he was baptized, we set a date for the temple. The miracles have been plentiful, and they just continue happening because So all 3 of our girls were baptized. All 3 of our girls went to the temple. And then my son served a mission, our youngest son served a mission, and came home and met a wonderful girl, and they were sealed in the temple. And now we have 16 grandkids under the age of 10. And, our family picture, just that posterity, how different it could have been, And the people who planted the seeds in our life, they have no idea. I mean, there were even people at Pat's work, members, who maybe just by their example, Pat could feel, he saw them and he saw the way they lived and that they were genuine and sincere in what they believed. Just so many people that we have to be thankful for that
Just miracle after miracle.
that helped us, our family, get to this point. And we're just so grateful, and we don't forget all of those blessings.